now, the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, that we penetrate the cabinets.
I also want to reiterate how deeply sorry Canada is for the situation this put President Zelensky and the Ukrainian delegation in. It is extremely troubling to think that this egregious error is being politicized by Russia and its supporters to provide false propaganda about what Ukraine is fighting for.
Why does this government treat Alberta like a fart in the room that nobody wants to talk about or acknowledge?
I heard her say a word that I know is distinctly unparliamentary, and I think she may want to withdraw it. The word was F-A-R-T.
I mean, we love your Mr. Trudeau. I mean, his family has always been such big fans about that.
Welcome, everybody, one and all. It is Monday, January 13th, 2025. Welcome to episode 22. Episode 22 of the Maple Files. We are your hosts, No Himbo and Yeti Jesus. Hope everybody's week is going well. Mine's just pretty much same old, same old. I forgot how much the job application process fucking sucks. It's just like I don't know about you, but it was never like this in the old days for me. It's like a job interview used to be just a job interview. And people used to just be like, yeah, you're hired, or like, yeah, no, we're gonna pass. Now it's like, okay, well, we have our initial screening interview, and then we have a second interview, and then we've got like this third interview and this fourth interview. And basically, if you're an introvert, you're completely fucked to begin with. Anyway, we have like this month-long process of putting you through this. And I've spoken about this before, but I always felt like you should be able to like bill companies for like your time. Because I swear to God, some of these processes, I remember I interviewed with Unity, and the total interview process was like 6 hours of my life. Just for them to tell me like, oh, we're actually just going with someone who's already in the company. I'm like, well, why did you do all this then? Just promote someone from within. You should do that anyway. They were probably doing a hell of a good job for you.
Yeah. I've been lucky for most part. Most of my jobs have came by word of mouth, or like just meeting people. Because I bartended, I worked in bars, and then eventually I just started my own company.
That was one of my first gigs when I moved to Toronto. Did bartending and all that. It's fun. It's interesting. It's a really good gig if you're a good listener. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Just listening to, because a lot of people just want to vent, and I don't blame them. We live in a circus, so
just sit there and just agree, and then open another drink for them.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
that's pretty much.
That is a lot of problems. Here's another beer.
Pretty much. That's pretty much exactly how it goes, almost every time. So without further ado, I'm going to get into the first development we have here over on the Maple Files. I always forget which one of these it is. There we go. There we go. Much better. So we have we have an update when it comes to the debt situation here in Canada. Despite interest rate cuts, more than 1 in 4 Canadians expect to be unable to pay bills, yet more than 1 in 5 plan to take on more debt, which is pretty brutal, let's be honest. Inflation continues to be a leading concern for 82% of Canadians, with 44% of those surveyed reporting that their household finances are worse than anticipated in 2024. So, some key findings from this TransUnion report. Household financial strains are most felt among Gen X, 51%, as this generation nears retirement. Housing prices of concern to 57%, with only 14% intending to take out a new mortgage in the next 12 months, and 15% considering refinancing their property. Millennials hold the largest share of debt at $911 billion. Millennials most concerned about their ability to keep current with bills and loans, with 35% saying they're not able to pay at least one in full. And more than half of Canadians, 63%, don't expect household income to increase in the next 6 months. Which isn't surprising, because anyone who's held a job knows how much of a pulling teeth exercise it is to get pretty much any kind of pay increase at your job whatsoever. I mean, my God, the amount of hoop.
I was going to say, and like, admittedly, some of our spending in our generation is not always essential, and we could definitely cut back in those areas. But like, the sheer number is indicative of a much larger problem. When that many are in debt. Sure, spending habits are worse, but there's got to be a larger problem here, or a larger problem there.
I mean, I always kind of look at the bell curve. If the majority of people just like they can't get by, then it's a systemic problem, and that's it. Like anyone can say like, "Oh, your spending could be better," but it's like, well, if the majority of people's spending is bad, that's just their spending, and you just got to deal with it. Like, and I mean, I've always been of the mind that like we live in this weird like scarcity mindset where it's like, I feel like this has always been kind of a central point of capitalist propaganda, where it's like, if you spend $1 on anything that isn't like bread and rent, like if you spend $1 on anything that might give you like a little tiny bit of joy in this life, and I mean, if you're doing that poorly to begin with, life's probably just a ball of stress. You're probably just panicking every week over your finances anyway.
Yeah.
A central focus of capitalist propaganda has always been like, if you spend like anything just on like enjoying your life, which is finite and you should be enjoying, then somehow you're irresponsible. And I've always thought about that growing up, where it's like, we shouldn't feel guilt over that. You should be spending money to enjoy your life. We're not saying go out and like take out a loan on a fucking yacht or something.
Yeah,
but it's
don't
like,
blow your money. Be responsible. But if you're working a job, it should pay you enough that you could at least enjoy life somewhat. Which, I mean, is a very broad category, yes. But there needs to be more than just scraping by and going to work every day.
Anyway, the article gets into it. TransUnion's Q4 2024 Consumer Pulse Study reveals that Canadians continue to feel pressure on their personal finances, with over a quarter, 26%, of Canadians reporting that they anticipate not being able to pay at least one of their current bills and loans in full. This rate increases for millennials, with 35% reporting that they anticipate not being able to make at least one of their debt payments in full. This demographic also has the largest share of consumers by age group in Canada's credit market, holding 27% of credit accounts, debt-related balances, and surpassing baby boomers for the first time. Despite concerns around their personal finances, more than 1 in 5, 22% Canadians plan to take on additional credit or refinance existing credit in the next year, and of those, 43% anticipate applying for a new credit card. So what this is basically saying across the board is that our purchasing power is just not doing the job anymore. And
the purchase power isn't equivalent to the work being put out.
Yep. And this concern around making debt repayments comes despite 79% of respondents revealing that their income remained flat or increased in the past 3 months, as well as further interest rate reductions from the Bank of Canada. Now, like, look, the crazy thing is, everybody I've talked to, pretty much everyone I've talked to, colleagues, friends, family, the only way to really increase your purchasing power, increase your income at this point is just to find a new fucking job. That's what everybody's saying. It's just like, yeah, don't bother. Like, your job's got you there, and they're just, and like, if you try and get more money, they're just gonna fart out excuses. The only way to do it is one of two ways. One, you get a new job, or two, you go to your existing job, say you got a better offer from another company, and if they think you're valuable enough to the company, they give you a counter offer. I had that happen once. But most of the time, let's be real, they're just going to be like, okay, well, bye-bye. We're going to go hire someone for cheap.
Yeah, they don't care about retention. It's the same thing with, like, a lot of companies used to have, like, loyalty programs, and they would really try to retain customers. Now it's, like, nothing but programs to get new customers.
Yeah, and it's the same with companies. Like, it doesn't seem like any companies nowadays really care about turnover. Despite how bad it is for your company. Because like, high turnover rate sucks. You've got to bring people on, you've got to train them. There's going to be a window where they're not going to be as productive, they're not going to be as knowledgeable, they're going to need more help, they're going to consume more resources. That's just how getting to know a new position goes across the board.
Yep.
And it seems like companies don't really realize how detrimental that is for your business. And it's like, I mean, here at my company, it's like a revolving door at this point. People are just quitting left and right. Like, everybody's jumping ship. And I'm sitting here like, well, I'm not going down with the ship.
Yeah.
So
I'm not the captain. Where's that lifeboat?
Yup. Many Canadians also continue to feel that their financial outlook is stagnant, with nearly 6 in 10, 59%, saying that their incomes remain the same in the last 3 months, and more than half, 63%, saying that they don't expect their household income to increase in the next 6 months. Millennials, as we read, hold the largest share of debt at $911 billion, approximately 38% of all Canadian debt. This is likely due to shifts in life stage, as millennials are increasingly having children, buying homes, and continuing to pay off existing debt. While economic indicators show that consumers are likely to enjoy some relief from their financial pressures in 2025, many are still navigating the challenges caused by the highest interest rates since 2001 we recently experienced, said Matthew Fabian, Director of Financial Services Research and Consulting at TransUnion Canada. With more than half of households expecting their income to stay the same in the next 12 months, added liquidity created by anticipated further interest rate cuts should create some room to breathe and fuel optimism for 2025. Other key findings of the study include Canadians continue to take on new debt despite repayment concerns. Despite concerns around the personal finances, nearly a quarter, 22% of Canadians stated that they intended to take on additional or refinance existing credit in the next year. And of those, 43% anticipate applying for a new credit card. This indicates, that some consumers are seeking to have extra credit available to help offset cash flow shortages during tough financial times. And that's what a lot of people I know are doing. They just need more cushion. Because the thing is, in the society we live in, you always want some kind of cushion, because you're basically flat out terrified that, like, one hardship, one emergency, whatever, is going to start that cycle of you losing everything.
Yeah.
I know. And when you have a family, that's fucking terrifying.
Mm-hmm. It is like that's the thing, and then of course that adds more stress to someone, which just weighs them down harder and harder as well. So you'll get people that start to spiral out of that, which is
Mm-hmm.
unfortunate because it's not going to be necessarily their fault either.
Mm-hmm.
Like people's lives shouldn't be getting worse the longer they're working. Their lives should be getting better, with the exception of like some event like causing major issue. But it's like people have been working for 30 years and all of a sudden their lives are getting pulled back. It's like that wasn't the agreement.
This is an interesting section. Among Canadians who said they cut back on discretionary spending like dining out, travel, and entertainment in the last 3 months, these are the types of spending they reported decreasing in that time. Dining out, 84%. Clothing and accessories, 59%. I love how, like, it's like, I guess I can't afford a shirt. Food delivery / ordering in, 58%. Entertainment and media, 50%. Large purchases, furniture, appliances, cars, etc., 47%. Travel, 48%. Home improvement, 33%. Electronics, 30%. Toys and hobbies, 28%.
Well, so a lot of those things are creature comforts, but that will affect a lot of people in the service industry.
Mm-hmm.
Because suddenly your tips are down 20, 30%.
Yeah, that's the problem. When everybody's struggling, it affects the whole ecosystem across the board. But I have a note. I've got a note on this because I was actually thinking about this the other day. Because I feel like a lot of people probably think of things like debt, financial stress. I feel like we've been programmed to think of these things as like some kind of personal failing. Like you're letting your wife or your husband down, or you're letting your parents down. You're doing poorly. But here's the thing, and I want to make an appeal to everybody. Start rethinking the way you look at debt, the way you look at financial hardship. Because here's the thing. If it's just you going through this, then yeah, there might be something you need to work on. But when the majority of the country is in debt, when the majority of the country is financially burdened, when the majority of the country isn't doing well, that becomes a systemic issue. And I've had to work on myself with this too, and I challenge everybody else to as well. Stop thinking about debt as a personal failing. Start thinking about it as a systemic failing. Because when the majority of people can't get by, that's a problem with the system. Yep. We're not all just fucking up together. There comes a point where you got to kind of look at the elephant in the room and go, okay, well, none of us are doing well. What gives?
Yeah, what are we all doing, or what is going to cause all of this? One of the two.
Yeah, it's gonna get to the point, and of course the capitalist propaganda is gonna do what it does. Eventually it's gonna tell you, yeah, well, you need to stop buying bread. Okay? It's gonna get to that point where it's like, stop buying food, you'll be fine.
Yeah. Don't eat this week.
Yeah. So I want to challenge everybody. I really want to challenge everybody to rethink the way you look at debt. Period. Financial hardship. Period. You're not alone. We're all going through it. And I think it would be a lot more helpful if we adopted more of a we're in this together sort of mindset. Because realistically, I know debt can be scary. I know it can be like this big rain cloud floating over you. But if it's floating over everybody, then it's just something we're all collectively dealing with. That's the reality. It's all, struggling financially. When the majority of people are struggling financially, we're all either doing something wrong or the system is failing. And I think we know which of those two reasonings probably make a bit more sense.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's
sure,
happy.
I was saying, sure, we do overspend as a society, but that's because we've been propagandized to constantly replace things. And, oh, we got to update this and update that. And, right? So.
Well, it's not just that. I mean, there's so many different factors as well. Products aren't built to last anymore. They're just not. You know, they're built so that you have to purchase that new phone or that new television or that new computer. You know, things don't last anymore. So that's one problem. The additional problem too is that, you know, it becomes a vicious cycle because people spend more on creature comforts when they're stressed. There's studies on this. There's psychological studies on this. I would know, having studied psychology myself. When all you're doing is stressing out about your finances, going out to dinner like once a month just to have a reprieve from like this goblin life we're all living is really nice. Sometimes you need it just for your own fucking sanity.
Yeah.
Just to go out and get like a
once a
nice
month
steak
is
or
not
something.
excessive either.
Well, nowadays it's like everyone I know is like, yeah, I've had a couple instances where it's like people wanted to go out to eat and it was like once a month and like, you know what? Like it's just not responsible. It's like, are we going to get to the point where we're literally just working all the time and just eating like ramen noodles? Because that's not a future I think we deserve. I think we can do better.
Yeah, I agree.
But I digress. That's that was just a quick note I wanted to make on rethinking how you look at debt. At the end of the day, we're all in this mess together. We're all suffering together. If you're succeeding, if you're thriving, I am absolutely happy for you. But looks like the majority of Canadians are not. And I keep looking at this news when it comes to Canadian debt and the financial situation we're going through, and I'm just seeing more and more bad news. So I wanted to inject a little bit of positivity insofar as like we've been propagandized into thinking that like any sort of financial struggle at all is our fault. That's propaganda. We all grew up with it. I grew up with it, absolutely. And you see it across all media where it's like if you're having any kind of financial hardship whatsoever, it's something you're doing wrong. And the purpose of that is so you don't question the system that you're suffering under. It's so you take it on as a personal failing and you don't question maybe the system isn't working. And a lot of people are getting to that point where they're finally waking up and going, I don't think the system's working. And that's why the propaganda has ramped up across social media, across media airwaves, because they don't want people, well, the rich and powerful, don't want you questioning the system because the system works out for them. But
very well.
But I'd just like to say that, you know, at the end of the day, if everybody you know is struggling alongside you, that's a shared struggle. That's a common cause. That's not a personal failing on you. So I know it's going to take a lot, but the next time you stress out over debt or financial hardship, or maybe I won't be able to make rent this month, just know that it's not your fault. You didn't magically ask for your purchasing power to be insufficient. You didn't ask for your labor to be exploited by people who are just going to continue to stack jet skis in their fucking cottage. You didn't ask for that. Nobody did. I didn't. I work my ass off every week. I'd like to see a return on it, at least enough to get by. You know, everybody's in the same boat. So
yep.
That's just a quick note that, you know what, like when everybody's suffering together, you know, we're either all doing something wrong and we got to change the system anyway, or, you know, we're doing everything right and that just isn't working anymore. Either way, it should promote some revolutionary fervor. Because if we keep going status quo, and I'll make a side note. If once PP gets into office, I don't see this ship getting turned around. I'm going to be calling out a lot of those fucking conservative shills online. I'm going to start asking people like, hey, this was the guy who's supposed to fix the economy, right? What's going on? What's up? Because he's leading
tax cutting.
tax cutting. Oh, everybody's talking about the carbon tax and like him cutting it. I don't even think he's gonna cut it. I don't even think he's getting that far.
I think he might cut some of it, but that might be it. I could be wrong though. It's happened once.
For a lot of Canadians, they're about to witness their first like conservative promise breaking spree, and I'm here for it. Just so I can pat them on the back and be like, "Oh, first time." Yeah, the liberals did this to us before the conservatives did it. They all do it. They promise your life's going to get better. They get into office, your life gets shittier. And then this is always the play. Always the play. North America in general. Doesn't matter if it's America or Canada. This is always the play. Politician runs for office. Promises to fix everything. Gets into office. Can't fix everything. Blames the previous administration. Then a new politician comes in. They run for office. They promise to fix everything. They don't fix everything. They blame the previous administration. I have seen this play my whole fucking life. My whole goddamn life. I've seen one play from politicians in North America. And it's that one. And it's crazy. More people don't.
Every time. It's, we'll fix this. Oh, no. We can't fix it. It's the other guy's fault. But vote us back in. We'll try and fix it again. Oh, but we couldn't fix it again. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know why people don't ask smarter questions, such as like, well, the last prime minister said those things you were saying, and then it's always the same. I always want to just ask that main question, like, okay, but the last politician, like, they said the same thing you're saying, and then they got into office and they didn't fix anything and just blamed the other guys. Because that's what Trudy did. He just blamed the Harper government. He just like, yeah, just Harper messed up. And it's like, but motherfucker, you ran on fixing the problem.
Yeah, you
and now
made
PP's
it work, not better.
Yeah. Medic droid. I love that we have trolls now. Housing costs doubling. You're right. Housing prices have soared, but blaming Harper for something liberals have had 8 years to fix? That's weak. My guy, I'm blaming all of them. That's my point. Trudeau blamed Harper instead of fixing the problem. And after that, I will bet you any amount of fucking money that Pierre Poilievre, once he gets into office, he's going to do the exact same shit. He's going to blame Trudeau, say he just messed up too bad, and he can't fix the problem. Because I'm old enough to see this playbook. It's every election cycle. Doesn't matter if it's liberal or conservative. They both do it. Vote for me. I'm going to fix it all. They get into office. They just kick the ball back to the previous administration.
Yeah,
right?
They always promise everything and then deliver absolutely nothing.
I'm willing to bet.
Like, oh, it wasn't our fault. Whose fault was it? You were the one who promised it.
Perfect example was Trump running on the grocery prices. And then the second he gets elected, he walks it back and goes, well, once they're high, it's just, it's really hard to lower them. It's the same play every goddamn time. Every time.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of my closing thoughts on the debt situation. Guys, just don't take it on yourself. It's rough out there. And, you can't, what's that old saying? You can't get blood from a stone. Right? So.
I mean, that is true.
We have some more developments, though. I don't think anybody knows what to think of this. This is from Stephen Chuckery, who I don't know if he's just another like conservative bot, like another conservative propagandist, or if he's like just a normal dude. But it's like, let's do this, Canada. And apparently they're having I don't even know what to make of this really. It's Convoy 2.0, but it's to what, force them to it's to force them to call an election. Which I'm sorry, this is like, even for a conservative led movement, this is really really cucked. Cause you're like, what? You're so like nervous and panicky over the state of your country that you have to force the conservatives to get in right away. It's like we saw that in the Pierre Poilievre interview with Jordan Peterson. Even he started kind of setting expectations where it's like, well, it's going to take a lot of work, and they all do that.
Off and then March.
Mm-hmm. But I don't even know who this is for. I don't even know what the point of this is. It makes no sense. But I'm seeing this across the board.
To give it specific dates. It's like, that's not going to do anything if they know you're going to be gone in 2 days.
Yeah. And also, I'm sorry. I know we refer to the trucker convoy as a great, template for actual, direct action and revolutionary change. To any liberals who might get triggered by that, don't. I'm just saying the strategy was good. It was a good strategy.
It brought a lot of people of all classes together, so.
Mm-hmm. But what bugs me is, why can't we ever get this kind of, why are we getting this kind of energy for this weak ass, we're all gonna organize to make sure that our politician gets into office. What is this weak, expecting a hero to save you thing? Where is, I said this on Twitter, where is the labor convoy? Where is the get Loblaws to stop fucking us convoy?
Yeah.
Where is the let's take on the telecom industry convoy? Why can't we ever get this kind of energy for anything that might actually directly affect our material conditions? Why is it always some sort of bullshit electoralism?
Well, I don't understand how sometimes conservatives don't make the crossover that if people are paying our politicians, it's people that own corporations. So we have to go after corporations. But it's no, it's just the government. Well, no, we need to take care of the people paying the government as well, or paying off the government as well.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just trying to get the majority of people to wake up and realize, no, the government's just working for the corporations. Here are the receipts. You can look all of this up. That's just reality. That's what's happening. And so it doesn't matter if you've got a liberal prime minister or a conservative prime minister. Okay? They don't work for you. I'm begging Canadians to realize this. Your government does not fucking work for you. It hasn't in a very long time. It's not going to change if you get in Pierre Poilievre or whatever other controlled opposition they push in front of your face and go, this is the new guy. He's going to fix it. The game is rigged, guys. The only way we are going to make life better for ourselves is if we do it ourselves. And I know it's hard and I know it's scary, but that's reality. We need to stop relying on these silver spoon political con men in order to fix the mess we're in. But I get it. And at all the Canadian conservatives, I get it. It's a lot easier to just vote and just sit back and go back to brunch and just hope that your magic man is going to fix it all. All the people who are cheering for Pierre Poilievre right now, just got to say, You know, at one point in time, that was me. I never fully supported the Liberals. I never fully supported Justin Trudeau, but I voted for him the first time because I was like, okay, well, by my logic, if he's gonna tackle electoral reform, that means in the future we don't have to make this weird strategic voting, and we can get in an actual party that's going to represent the working class. That was my calculation. But, you know, back in the day, yeah, like I felt the same way about Jack Layton. You know, like I've been where a lot of conservatives are at right now when it comes to Pierre. I get it. I get you guys. But I digress. Back to the convoy, because we kind of slipped off the road a little bit there, but that was mostly my fault. It's frustrating to me how we can never get like this kind of like convoy, like direct action energy, how we can never get that going.
Together, kind of.
Yeah. How we can never get that fucking going for anything that's actually going to threaten power, for anything that's actually going to threaten the billionaires that are squeezing us for every last penny we have. But I did see an article. This is from a website called Convoy Watch. I'm not super familiar. Apparently it just tracks like, I don't know, like trucker convoys or something. But it's interesting. Freedom Convoy leaders are trying to stop a planned election convoy to Ottawa. Convoy leaders are publicly disavowing a brand new convoy that is aiming to force Justin Trudeau to call a snap election. Leaders of the original 2022 Freedom Convoy are scrambling to pour cold water on plans for a so-called election convoy. The proposed election convoy, which is being planned to coincide with the Freedom Convoy's 3-year anniversary, is pitching itself as a protest against Justin Trudeau's prorogation of Parliament to force a snap election. Organized largely in far-right Facebook groups, the 2025 election convoy is being spearheaded by figures previously associated with the anti-LGBTQ+ Million March for Children protests and the Save the Children convoy, a conspiratorial group that aspired to arrest political leaders. Convoy 2025 hashtag trended in recent days on Elon Musk's X.com. Again, I mean, of course they're going to be doing the culture war thing. That's always going to be a popular psyop. And yes, I'm always going to call it a psyop because holy shit. Why aren't you out there screaming at corporations? Stop arguing over bathrooms. You're not serious people. Among the most prominent voices speaking out against the planned election convoy are Chris Barber and Tom Quiggin, two people with leadership roles in the 2022 Freedom Convoy. Barber is a founding organizer of the 2022 Freedom Convoy, while Quiggin, a former RCMP intelligence officer, advised the convoy's leadership team by producing daily intel reports. This is a bad idea on so many different levels, Quiggin said of the planned election convoy Friday on X. I'll be staying as far away as possible from this event should it get going. Agreed, innocent people will get hurt again, Barber replied. Activists and influencers give election convoy the cold shoulder. Other activists and influencers linked to convoy and convoy adjacent groups are also telling followers they're steering clear of the election convoy. Eddie Cornell, convoy co-founder of convoy spin-off group Veterans for Freedom, I too do not support this idea. Jeff Evely, V4F leader and PPC candidate, I wonder if Convoy 2.0 will result in the emergency the Liberals need for them to continue cleaving to power until the fall of 2026. Yukon Strong, convoy influencer. Meh, sorry guys. Don't think I'm on board this time around. It just seems kind of redundant to me. The Pleb, convoy influencer and Pierre Poilievre admirer. This convoy is completely pointless. God, that Pleb guy has to be on the payroll. Has to be on the payroll. Just gotta say. Gordon Bear.
Just such vague insult at people all the time.
Yeah, and they're pretty much saying like something's kind of off here. And I just gotta ask, like, can we have a convoy that actually results in people's material conditions improving? Why don't we set that as a goal for 2025? Let's have a labor convoy where we all get together and demand A, that the government stop favoring corporations over working class people, and B, demand that the government do something about what corporations are up to. And if you want to know what corporations are up to, that leads us firmly into our next segment. You guys may have seen this, you may have not, but we'll go over it. Loblaws apologizes after underweighted meat sold in Western Canada stores. So again, all this rhetoric about rising grocery prices.
How many times has Loblaws got busted for crap now? They got busted for overpriced or basically running bread scheme.
Yep.
They got that fridge thing. Now this.
Yeah, they're just soaking people. So whenever people talk about the price of groceries, I'm like, well, are the grocery corporations just fucking people? And the answer is always yes. Loblaws is
No, it's the government.
Yeah.
So we government.
Well, it's partially the government because they should be doing something about this shit. But again, the government is subservient to these large corporations, so that's why nothing ever gets done.
Well, that's the one big thing too, is that we're gonna somehow need to rein in economics, because, like, as Miss Getty pointed out, it's like you can't just keep paying people more and more either, because then the price of everything else keeps going up. In theory as well, but we need to like rein the prices back in.
Well,
which means have to kind of rein corporations in.
That's kind of the thing that nobody wants to do. That's my primary critique of the carbon tax. It's like, don't pass the costs on to the consumer just because you're scared of regulating these industries that are contributing primarily to the problem. Regulate the industries. Yeah. That's what you should be doing. You shouldn't be forcing working class people who are already squeezed to shoulder yet another expense. We're good. We're all set.
Yeah. Start putting the cost back on the people causing the issues, like you said.
Anyway, Loblaw is apologizing after the grocer confirmed some meat products sold in stores across Western Canada were underweighted compared with what was posted on the label, leading to some customers being overcharged. Would you look at that? The grocer confirmed the discrepancies to global news after the problems were exposed in a CBC News investigation published Thursday. A Loblaw spokesperson told Global News in an email that the issues were tied to a small number of meat products sold in select stores in Western Canada. I'm sure. The CBC investigation found underweighted meat products in as many as 80 stores over an undisclosed period ending December 2023, but identified additional issues of underweighting in additional Loblaw stores after that date, as well as in one Sobeys owned grocer and a Walmart. So it's not just Loblaws. The place where you get your food is just ripping you off. And that's it.
Well, and they try to act like they're trying to excuse it like it was a one-off, but like it was like how many times? Like that was clearly a company initiative. If that many stores were all doing the exact same thing, that wasn't an oopsie. We all just happened to do that. That had to be from corporate.
And also, not for nothing, but like, there's only so many times that a company can get caught with its pants down ripping off consumers before you have to just assume they're just ripping off consumers and that's what they're doing. And the thing is, if we let them get away with it, like, okay, so what is going to be done about this? Because if here's my problem. If this cycle is just corporation rips off consumers, corporation says sorry, promises to do better, and then we catch the corporation ripping off the consumer again, there's no solution to the problem.
I don't know, we'll get a second story. That's 2 stories.
Yeah, exactly. The story reported that prices were inflated by between 4 and 11% due to the errors. The discrepancy appeared to happen when food products were weighed to include the packaging, which runs counter to Canadian Food Inspection Agency CFIA guidelines, according to the CBC investigation. Look at this shit. Look at this bullshit. Unfortunately, the error happened as we were converting our meat trays to a more environmentally friendly format and was corrected when discovered. Really? You're gonna woke your way out of this? We're really gonna try and
So they've been always weighing their meat with the trays then, is what they're saying.
They're really trying to virtue signal their way out of this. Like, oh yeah, the error was made because we care too much about the things that matter. That's so good.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like, not for nothing, but if the largest grocery chain in Canada can't understand how to adhere to Canadian Food Inspection Agency guidelines, then that's a much bigger problem. But I mean, realistically, like, what's more likely here? They're this fucking stupid, or they're just ripping you off. I usually go with, Occam's razor. The simplest solution is usually the correct one.
Yeah. Well, it's probably, we probably start going back in history. You can probably find other times Loblaws has been caught for other stuff too.
Of course. Loblaws said it addressed inconsistencies in the 2 additional stores identified by CBC, adding that 97% of the company's stores were unaffected. The spokesperson said the grocer has robust internal processes and controls in place. This is just 100% corpo speak. I'm sorry. Yeah. But they are subject to the occasional operational error. Yeah.
That's why we need the government to give us the loan that we don't have to pay back so we can fix our machines.
It's always something like that.
Thank you.
Global News.
For just $1,000 a day, you can take care of a billionaire. Mm-hmm. Give generously.
Global News has reached out to Sobeys and Walmart Canada for comment on the reporting underweighting at those stores. A Sobeys spokesperson told Global News in an email that it takes the issue of weighing products seriously, adding it believes the case was isolated. Wow, that sounds familiar. The grocer, whose brands are owned by parent Empire Co., has taken steps to reinforce its procedures according to the statement. Loblaws' statement acknowledged that any pricing issue that results in an overcharge is one too many. We apologize for these errors, the statement said. Loblaws said it was implementing a discount on select meat products in the affected stores, which will be visible on customers' receipts. The spokesperson did not disclose the size of the discount nor the names of the impacted stores. Of course they didn't, because at the end of the day, as long as they profit, as long as they have a good fiscal quarter, it doesn't fucking matter to these ghouls.
Nope. It's all about the numbers on the charts.
As long as numbers going up, we're doing good, baby. Especially if you get caught ripping off consumers at the end of the day, you just have to say sorry and it's good. That's it. That's all you got to do. You don't really... Like, what action... Like, there needs to be some kind of regulation here.
Like you're kind of getting at, nothing happens about this. They break laws, break rules. Nah.
But we're getting to the meat and potatoes here. The CFIA confirmed to Global News on Friday that the agency had responded to complaints about misweighted items at grocery stores, including Loblaws, but did not say whether problems were identified at any particular grocer. The CFIA took action in every case where there was a misweighed product. In cases where there were errors in the declared net weight, implicated companies took corrective actions to address the cause of the error, a spokesperson said in an email. The spokesperson added that when infractions are discovered, grocers will face repercussions that are proportionate to food safety risk and the seriousness of the non-compliance. If a food business was found to be non-compliant again, we would take this into consideration in determining further enforcement actions, the CFIA response read. Mike von Massow, a food economist with the University of Guelph, told Global News he would be surprised if the underweighing was nefarious. He thinks a technical glitch or lack of training or quality assurance is a more likely scenario. Of course, it's always human error. With the plastic packaging making up the difference in weight, von Massow said, it's likely that scales were improperly tiered, reset to account for the size of packaging while taking a weight, then a deliberate attempt to shortchange customers. The alternative, that grocers have been deliberately mislabeling packaging on a nationwide scale, would invite serious consequences. If it's being done on purpose and now we're covering our butts by saying it was an accident, well then frankly it's criminal. I mean, it's fraud, von Massow said. And so in that circumstance, again, the reputational risk is such that I don't think most companies would be really willing to risk it. Okay, but here's the problem. We just get to the point where we have someone like you on to run defense for the grocer. They can just say sorry. And nobody's the wiser. There's nothing actually happening here. That's the problem. And at the end of the day, you know, they got that bag.
Mm-hmm.
So, TLDR.
Oh yeah, every time you're like, oh, we didn't know we couldn't just lie to you. Sorry.
So yeah, again, TLDR, Loblaws is being awful once more, and once more, it's some kind of human error, flawed, whatever. Not surprising.
Soon they'll blame AI, so that's nice. That'll be a nice change.
I like the touch when they were like trying to pass like ripping people off as like, oh, it was actually because we were trying to be good people and switch to a more environmentally friendly thing. So if you criticize us, you're going to get that extra guilt of like attacking someone who's trying to do the right thing. I get it. I get these psychological tricks. I understand it all. I see what y'all are doing. What the
weight difference in those packaging are. So I wonder what the actual difference in the weight of the packaging are.
I mean, that's the crazy part. It's like it was up to an 11% discrepancy. Most of the meat is just styrofoam and plastic.
Yeah.
The overwhelming majority of meat I purchase is just styrofoam and plastic. It weighs barely nothing. So,
oh yeah, styrofoam is basically weightless.
Yes.
For that size.
So right off the bat, I'm like, okay, I guess I'll buy it, but I mean,
11% of a steak is the styrofoam package we had.
But
what size of steak was this?
But also, like, really? You guys just like it just slipped? You made a boo-boo? I don't know. Seems like y'all were just caught ripping people off. And that's all this ever fucking was.
Mm-hmm.
But I digress. Our final bit of coverage comes from our friends over at Rabble. Concerns mount over next stage of dental care plan. Dentists say the plan is an overdue step in increasing dental care accessibility in Canada. The Canadian Dental Care Plan, CDCP, is expected to extend coverage to its largest cohort soon. 18 to 65-year-olds with a net family income of less than $90,000 who are not covered by private dental insurance. Which I will be the first one to say that's a step in the right direction. The fact that any developed nation does not have socialized dental care is insane. First off, dental care is absolutely healthcare. I don't know how we got to the point where this suddenly has an exemption from like just general health services, but like it's your teeth. You can actually have like heart problems if you don't take care of your dental health. So
well, part of the transplant relisting phase is getting my teeth checked out, making sure there's no issues with anything like infections or any of that stuff as well.
Yeah, I mean, I remember a famous actor from that TV show Angel. I remember they actually died because of heart failure due to like dental issues. So it's no joke. Anyway, the plan, which first launched in December 2023, currently covers seniors aged 65 and older, children under the age of 18, and Canadians with a disability tax credit for 2023. But the exact date for the plan's extension has yet to be announced. In October 2024, Health Minister Mark Holland said the plan would be extended in early 2025. In an email to rabble.ca, Health Canada said they cannot confirm when the plan would be extended. Brandon Duche, a dentist based in Nova Scotia and founder of the Coalition for Dental Care, a group that advocates for a universal publicly funded dental care system, said he's worried about what this means for the plan's rollout. If this program doesn't get fully implemented in this parliament, then the next government will not be so friendly to it because it's looking like it's going to be a conservative government. He said in an interview with rabble.ca. Well, no shit. The conservatives, like, their entire philosophy is just cutting things. So that tracks. Mm-hmm. But the liberals' incompetence allows for the conservatives to take power. That's a cycle we need to break out of.
Mm-hmm.
On Monday, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced that he was resigning as leader of the Liberal Party and as Prime Minister, but said he will stay on until the party selects a new leader. He also announced that Parliament will be prorogued or suspended until March 24th, meaning that members of Parliament will be unable to vote on any new laws and all existing committee work will be put on hold. Funding for the CDCP has already passed Parliament, and the plan's rollout began in 2023, but some worry that the Parliament's prorogue, as well as the impending election, could still impact the plan. Duche said he thinks that if the election is held before the plan is fully rolled out, the next stage will never be launched. And now you know at least one reason why conservatives are so panicky in getting an election going. Because they don't want one more thing that they can't fucking cut.
That's fair.
If the program is not fully up and running, it's not going to continue to get expanded, he said. It's supposed to cover 9 million people, so we're only about 1/3 of what it's supposed to be at the moment. As of October 2024, about 2.7 million Canadians have been approved for coverage under the CDCP. The benefits of accessible dental care. Manish Jain, president of the Ontario Dental Association, ODA, and practicing dentist in Guelph, said that dentists have long been advocating for more accessible dental care for Canadians without private insurance. Access to oral health care in Canada has been a challenge, too often an impossibility for those without dental coverage for many decades, he said in an email to rabble.ca. It's something dentists have been advocating to improve for just as long. Dental care is incredibly important to one's oral health and their overall health, he continued. Like I said, poor oral health is linked to many diseases and chronic conditions, including cardiovascular disease, dementia, and diabetes. Duche also emphasized the importance of accessible dental care, pointing to the state of Canadian dental social assistance programs prior to the CDCP, especially in comparison to other countries in the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD. We ranked second last among OECD countries in our share of public dental spending as a share of total dental spending. Prior to the CDCP, only about 6% of Canada's total dental spending was covered by public programs. The remaining 84% was funded by private insurance and out-of-pocket payments. Excuse me. Comparatively, in the United States, 10% of dental spending is publicly funded. Duche said that because of limited funding, past programs have been inadequate and have resulted in some patients taking matters into their own hands. These programs often cover only emergency services like extractions and neglect, preventative services, and early intervention, he said, and the fees the programs pay out are around half what the provincial fee guides pay. Duche explained that prior to the CDCP, many dentists were being forced to take a hit on the cost of their services, resulting in some refusing to take on patients covered by public programs. He also said that some patients, often without the means, have been forced to pay the remaining price of their care out of pocket. You know, I've seen dozens of people who have told me they've tried to extract their own teeth with pliers, Duche said. You can imagine the level of desperation someone has to have that. But Duche emphasized that poor dental health can impact more than just health. It makes it so that people get trapped into that cycle of poverty, he said. Because if you can't afford dental and it's harder to find a job because you have missing front teeth and visible decay, it becomes a cycle that is self-perpetuating. Again, that's a very class-conscious sort of attitude.
Yeah.
Could the dental plan give employers an avenue to drop coverage? Some dentists worry that the plan may give employers the opportunity to stop providing private insurance for employees that fall within the CDCP's income bracket. An unintended consequence of the Canadian Dental Care Plan is the risk of employers dropping dental coverage for employees, and a plan is needed to mitigate this risk, the Canadian Dental Association said in a statement. Jane said this is also a concern of the ODA, which is a member of the Canadian Dental Association. We worry that employers may drop coverage for workers who would otherwise be eligible for the CDCP, he said. Jane explained that this could greatly increase the cost of the CDCP, resulting in the government being forced to make reductions in the plan to keep up with demand. He said he also worries that this may force Canadians within certain income brackets to pay more for dental care. Under the CDCP, those with a household income in the bracket of 70 to 90,000 must cover between 40 to 60% of their care, as well as additional fees not covered by the plan. If employers drop their coverage, employees may end up paying more than with their previous private coverage. But Duche said he isn't concerned about de-insurance. If some corporation is going to get rid of their dental coverage, they should also be paying taxes to what would be the funding of their dental plan or having some source of progressive taxation. He said simply, it's a very easy thing to do. So that's where we're at. I'm not super optimistic given the incoming government. But at least we understand why the Conservatives are so frantic to get into office.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, it makes sense because that's a lot of money that's going to cost them. So.
Yep. And it's one last thing that's going to be harder to cut, really.
Mm.
Anyway, that's our show for this week. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Yeti, any final thoughts?
Just want to tell everyone to keep working hard at what they're doing, trying to do what little you can. Don't let government get off with anything. Just keep working.
Amen. A source of comfort for me, at least, is knowing that we Canadians are all in this together. We're all kind of struggling together, and whatever new, fresh hell the likely conservative government brings, we're all going to be in that together too. On the plus side, this is a great opportunity to start getting organized, start joining organizational efforts. Listen, whether you like the convoy or not, they at least push the government to do something about a thing. And we need to start taking that energy a little more seriously than we have been. Anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and keep questioning everything. Go check out the Indie News Network for the upcoming shows. I'll be back, as always, on Thursday with another episode of Snow Himbo Streams. And yeah, thank you guys so much for all the support. Please remember to follow. I'll get the cool link up. 1 second. Please remember to follow us on YouTube at youtube.com/@_the_maple. Sorry, @the_maple_files. And that's all for tonight. Have a great night, everybody, and hang in there. It'll get better one day. I promise.